Stops playing.
Stops playing.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's annoying because you're just used to like turning your phone off, right? I'm trying to conserve the screen. I don't know why I'm wired like that, but I am. I just want to conserve the screen. Maybe it's because Dad always like, turn the lights on, turn the lights on, turn the lights on. Probably was the case. So the podcast is like, I'm cooking dinner. I'm off for a run. I'm driving in my car. I can consume podcast at any time. And if something happens where I need to pause it, then all of a sudden I just pause it and I can go about my day and I can come back and press play and there it is again, right? So audio has a a ton of attention, right? Because you have the Echoes, you have Alexis, you have all these different devices that are focused on getting audio out there. And so you want to just have a look at, even if you don't like the sound of your voice, it might be valuable to interview people of your audience, right? So if I think, Vicky, about like people that are really big into your gym, what if you were to invite them to be on your podcast and talk about health and nutrition or fitness, what their thoughts are, right? And then what happens is on that podcast, who's going to listen to it? Well, they are, and they're going to promote all their friends to listen to it. And so you're basically leveraging that you're going to have this platform in order to promote other people, and oh, lo and behold, they learn more about you. So it's really that selfless grab of, hey, how can I promote other people? And they start seeing that I exist. Okay. The other thing that I would Anchor is a specific app when it comes to audio for podcasting, and I'm a big fan of this. I think this thing is totally going to disrupt how things are being done when it comes to podcasting. Just because you can promote from the app, you can communicate with people throughout the world, right? So Allison, we did a podcast together, right? Even though we live in the same town. Carrie Ann, we did a podcast, even though we're in the same town. Jamie, we did one, right? And so we're able to tell your stories in a way that it was totally convenient for you, right? You could have been just home in your jammies. You could have been at the office, right? You could have done it at any place that you felt comfortable. And then the nice about Anchor is that I have literally people in Australia or England or Canada that I can engage with them through this podcast, and it costs me nothing, right? Like there's no long distance. It's just through this app. I did read somewhere that with the push towards 5G, which means that we're getting like super fast connections worldwide. Oh, that'll be nice. That video and audio are like the next hot thing. Like that's where people are going to start consuming more and more. So no longer get the buffer and wait for this thing to kind of happen. No, the video's just going to automatically play. It's going to be awesome. So it's in your best interest to be able to make sure that you have some kind of audio and some kind of video format. So if you want to create a YouTube channel, I think it's a great place to be able to show people, right? With social media, it's a show me world, right? You can show me exactly what you do. You don't need to tell me that you're an expert in litigation. I can literally see you in a courtroom arguing your case. Literally, that's how my brother-in-law got an interview and eventually a job when he was in San Antonio, that he had put on the very bottom of his resume this hyperlink to a YouTube video that the court, that they had taken a video of him, opening remarks, arguments, and closing. So you didn't see anybody else, you didn't hear any like the confidential information, and this law firm wanted a litigator. So they're able to see exactly his skill set in the courtroom. It helps that he's like super buff as well, so then it's like really intimidating. Like he's buffer than I am, which is always impressive to me. Not that, because I just have a certain stage of fitness. Anyway, any questions about Anchor Podcast? Yes.
This might be transitioning to different topics.
That's fine. Let's do it.
Okay. So, you know your why.
Yep.
Okay. And so I know my why, and so I am creating things but my why is not generating income at the moment.
Okay.
Or I'm thinking like maybe in 5 years I might not want to coach anymore, and I might want to take my services on the road and like go to different high schools and just do like an hour session with them to help them do certain things. So that's kind of my why.
Yep.
But it's not generating income right now. But how much do we do? Like if it was starting to generate income, or if there's something else that we want to make sure that people are coming into your doors to buy your product, how much do you do that's just going to be a waste of time that people are watching and looking at but not actually coming to your doors? Like, do you still need to spend 10,000 hours doing that to make sure they come in your door?
Okay. That's a really, really good question, right?
So to show, the world wants to see you, but I don't want to like break my neck showing them everything about me, and then they still don't come through my door.
Yeah. So this falls a little bit to the sales realm. So I apologize if you in your mind, if you don't think you're a salesperson, you kind of are. You're either selling yourself or you're selling specific products or services. It's really how it is, right? And so from this context it's the idea that the more that you give out to individuals, whether it's just the secret sauce, exactly how it's made, or exactly what what you would be teaching in a class, people then actually will start following more, and they actually will consume more. And then what you do is then you have an ask. Like, so I would post out a week's worth of stuff. The next week I would ask, do you want to coach, right? Then you mix that in there so people know that you, never go on the assumption just because you're out there online that people know that you're willing to be paid for your services, right? Because that's one of the biggest mistakes that people are making. I don't want to ask people, I don't want them to know that I need to get paid. We know you need to get paid, we just don't know how, right? So one of the things that you can get to at some point when you have and I'd say in our community, you get a couple thousand followers here locally. I would go to every single sports store locally, right? Now don't go to Shields, don't go to Dick's, but go to the local ones, right? And I would say, hey, I have 2,000 people following me. I'd love to be able to do a video trying out one of your yoga mats, trying out one of your your socks, and you'd be surprised all of a sudden now because remember, don't think of it always with money, right? If you never had to buy let's say nutrition, protein shakes, that saved me breakfast for the next for life. So just think about that, right? There's an opportunity for you to be able to get compensated for actually reviewing different products for individuals or companies, or getting a sponsorship, right? Like, hey, would you pay me $500 a month to be able to promote your business in the background of all my videos and get about 2,000 people that watch it, every single month, right? So because think about it this way, I know. So I sit on the board of a nonprofit, and I'm on the marketing side. Go figure. And so we had sponsors, and so at the event, physical event, there's probably 150 people all in, right? That's including servers and people that are dropping people in and out. And then the main sponsor has a little plaque on one table. Okay, there's a lot of action going on, right? So I don't know if the entire 150 people even saw that plaque. Now, of course, they did get it on our flyers. It did go to who knows even who looks at paper mail anymore. In one post, it was seen by 800 people in 24 hours, right? So that's the power, right? So that post was $0, no printing, nothing, and it got seen by more eyes than actually came to the event. So that's the power of being able to leverage the value of social media, okay? Allison.
The other thing that I would add to that is if you're going to events or you're doing things, take pictures of yourself at the event, there might only be a small handful of people. Then once you share it, then you get that engagement and you're leveraging all of those connections that you have as well.
So a really good point, Allison. From a standpoint of selfies, number one is it's not egotistical. It's not that you're this great looking person. It does for me. When I take a photo, I'm just like, oh, I look pretty good today. That's how I'm wired. You don't need to be wired the same way, okay? So, but you want to be able to sell you, and that could be a good thing, right? Don't not post because you don't want to think people are yourself involved, or no, people I have a coach because I like them. I like what they can bring to the table, and sure. Do we buy a little bit on what they look like? Sure. I'm not going to go sit down with a nutritionist that's 180 pounds overweight. Just sorry, I'm not gonna. Proof's in the pudding, right? If you did it, then I would believe it. So. Or if you're really passionate about it, then you would believe it too, right? So, that's my thoughts. Go.
So is that why, I used to be an English teacher, and all of my former students, millennials, are now having their first and second babies, and they're now entrepreneurs and doing different things. So I see them on Facebook all the time doing their hair and selling and talking to me, and I watch them.
Yep.
Why? Why am I watching them? Or what is that? Is that do I need to be doing that? Do I need to talk to my people on the screen? It seems I'm this is so weird that they're doing this. slash I keep watching it.
Yes, yes.
And I don't stop, and I want to kind of fast forward, and then I don't, and then I'm like, what was the point? And then I'm kind of mad, and then she should have said the point, you know, but there's something weird about that, but I like it.
Yeah, so one of the things you bring up is really interesting here.
Right? Like, I don't
So,
know.
so this is fascinating to me, right? Uber came out, and everybody's a taxi driver, right? Like if you want to make extra dollars and you got a car, you can taxi people around. Like the idea is crazy. You're out of town, your house, you can rent it to strangers. Let them stay at your house, right? Like it's insane how much we trust strangers to come into our place, not trash it, pick up our daughters, pick up our sons. Like it's crazy what we do without strangers because it's through an app, right? It's totally fine. It's Airbnb. It's Uber. It's Lyft. It's crazy. But because what we're living in right now is a totally shift from you have everybody that realizes that I have a job 8 to 5 or 9 to 6, whatever the hours that you work, and they have this. I have a makeup business. I have, I'm selling, Beanie Babies on the side. I know a guy that is paid by, doesn't pay his entire income that he needs to survive, but he's really into Hot Wheels. And he'd make all these videos reviewing different Hot Wheels cars. If you didn't know this, logistically, Hot Wheels are just randomly sent to various places throughout the United States, right? So if you want a specific car, you got to go and search. So I remember when I worked at Shopko decades, like this 15, 16 years ago, people would literally come in when we got a new shipment of Hot Wheels. They knew when we got the new shipment in, and they would scour through looking for specific cars. It was insane. Anyway, so this guy, they actually made a specific car for this guy. His last name's Lambert. They called it the Lambert car. And so how tickle pink is this dude? His hobby, all of a sudden, they're watching him. And so that's really where a lot of this side hustle, hey, I'm doing makeup, I'm doing fitness, like everybody's a nutritional coach, it seems like these days, right? Because they joined beachbody.com. And there's nothing wrong with that, I totally respect it. But they want to change this side hustle because they love going to the gym, they love working out, they love fitness, they love talking about it, they just consumes their life. But they work at a bank, and they're like, this bank kind of blows. No offense to any bankers here. Ever, no offense. But it's like, I just can't see myself doing this long term. I want this to go full time, right? So they're trying to figure out how they can monetize and go here. And so one of the interesting things that you bring up about YouTube is my sons, their ages 7 to 12, they watch more on YouTube than anything else, right? Because unfortunately, I showed them how to do voice. And I said, search this. And they will literally search. They'll say, I want to watch a specific YouTuber playing Roblox in space. And literally what comes up is this specific video. It's crazy to me. I literally said on a podcast the other day, you could watch a Black Friday in Wisconsin at Sam's Club. And so then yesterday I searched it. And you literally could find it. Last year somebody went to Sam's Club in Milwaukee and YouTubed it. And now you can watch it. So you can consume, the beauty is you can consume it exactly the way that you want to. That's the beauty of YouTube. If I want to watch a blonde that tells me about leadership, boom, I can find one, right? I don't have to wait around for, maybe ABC or NBC can come out with something kind of cool, maybe focused on leadership and personal development. No, you can consume it on your time now. And why waste your time? So that's where number one is for most people, their biggest hang up is they want perfect content. Perfect content doesn't exist. Even if you have a full-time videographer, right, that's got like the most beautiful camera, we got the awesome lighting, because this is not that great of lighting. I will look really weird in this. I know it because I'm yellow and we got yellow lights on this, but it's gonna look really weird. No offense, Mackenzie. So what happens is with all that perfect content that you're trying to create, it just doesn't get there. And no matter how well polished you rehearse a script and you even write it down, you're gonna have an in there, or so, or a longer pause than you anticipate. Don't allow yourself to get stuck on not posting because you're afraid of that defensive, what if it doesn't come across perfect? Well, because if it comes across perfect, then it just doesn't seem authentic. Like, who the heck talks like that? So that's why sometimes if you drop the F-bomb, people appreciate that because, you're a real person dropping the F-bomb. For me, I'd prefer, because my sons watch my content, like I was on live today, and so I prefer not to be dropping F-bombs just in case they decide to consume my content and, they're 7, 10, and 12. I don't want to have that comment. Oh, but I'm an adult, so it's okay for me to drop F-bombs. No, it's just a door I want to close. Anyway, I totally digress on that. Yeah, Jackie.
I'm really a very imperfect person, but people like me because I do quick and
Yes.
funny things. So I did a video, and I do estate sales. I only let the people who follow my business page come the night early. Only if you followed it could you come. So shh, it's a secret. All of a sudden, my phone starts going off. There was a hairdresser in Schofield. I'm peeing my pants. You're making me laugh. And then people I didn't even realize looked at
Yes.
my content, followed that, and I had like 6,000 views on something that I was embarrassed about. I wasn't even gonna post because I look stupid.
Yep.
But people like it when you are real.
Yes.
And
The authenticity is totally there.
What's your business again?
Plus, what I will say is there's a lot of creeping on social media these days, especially on Facebook, right? So I distinctly remember, like, people will say, sure, I've been following you for a long time, and I'm like, really? Like, I never see you putting likes, I never see you commenting, like, how? But this guy from England, he's like, yeah, I've been watching you, really positive, and I just want to be able to just talk to you about my, my situation and kind of what I'm doing and get some vibe from you. And so I'm like, I don't remember that. I don't know who this dude is. So I'm doing a quick, search and going through his feed. Okay, I know what he looks like. So at least for me, I'm a visual person. When I talk to people, I need to see you, and that kind of helps me just, anyways, have the conversation. So, so just be aware of that. That you have a lot of people that are seeing your content but aren't doing anything about it. Right? They're just slow. They're quiet watchers, right? Just consuming it quietly. Do we need to close this out soon? Okay, we're good. Okay. So Zoom conference calls, I would say what's awesome right now is that you can do conference calls through a multitude of just different apps. Zoom is a nice one just because straight from your phone, but even Skype got into the deal, right? So now you can do like group Skypes. You can record through the business Skype app, which is really kind of cool, especially if you feel like you're a coach or a therapist or a financial advisor, Tony. You can literally record the conversation with someone. You can actually share your computer, so that way you can kind of document the process. So it's definitely made it really more compliant friendly. So that way if you need to be able to have like legitimate facts and figures kind of conversations like with an accountant or financial advisor or a business strategist, you can actually have this all documented. There's a ton of just different conference tools out there that are free, and it just, people are getting more comfortable with building relationships online. And so this is my confession. For those of you that don't know, I got married last year, which is awesome. She's 11 years younger than me, which is even better. That's like the cherry on top of my amazing life. So, not that things aren't right. Anyway, so what happens here is my buddy introduced me, right? So it's a buddy from freshman year of college. Now I went to college as a freshman in 1996, 97. So I'm a little older, okay? And so he's married to the oldest sister in the family. And so he introduces me to the youngest sister. And so we met, and there's no sparks that flew just because I'm crazy. It's just how it works. You don't get attracted to me the first time you meet me. It's always there. It's just how it was. I always thought you would, but just how it always been. So then, then she ended up moving back to the Marshall Islands. Now, if you don't know where the Marshall Islands is, go home and Google it later, and it'll take you to the middle of the ocean, and you'll be like, where the heck is this place? And you'll find this tiny little strip. It's a mile wide, 25 miles long. Doesn't look like an island, right? Because we're thinking of Hawaii, these little blocks. So this is a little strip of land, and 60,000 people live there, and I am literally building a relationship with my wife, Mel, while she's living in the Marshall Islands. 17-hour time difference, and we're literally building it through Facebook Messenger. Then it went to Skype phone call, then to Skype video, and then it was like, hey, we're spending hours upon hours on these apps. Just fly out here, right? Just take 24-hour flights. It's from Marshall Islands to Hawaii, Hawaii to San Francisco to Minneapolis. I'll come pick you up, and there we go, we rolled the dice. So I am a firm believer that all communication is good. It just depends how we decide to leverage it, right? And now there's certain things that, like, if you want to break up with somebody, you want to divorce somebody, I think that's a face-to-face conversation. That's my opinion. But at the same time, if you want to text that out, like, hey, it's over, boom, bomb, like that's your choice. It exploded. We had a good run here. That's your choice. That's your prerogative. But I think there's some things that are best said face-to-face. So then, boost versus paid ad. So this is where it gets into a little bit of, I think there's this fallacy that people say that, okay, if I decide to pay one time for my media to get boosted, then it's always going to make me pay to keep it going, right? And that's just a total fallacy, right? Now, you get more exposure. That's how paid ads work, right? Like, if I pay 10 bucks, which, by the way, is such a small amount. You think about it like from an advertising perspective, I'm paying $10. Like, postage is like 50 cents. It's way better than any other cost out there. By the way, in Merrill, there's this barbecue joint, this catering business, that literally survives on Facebook ads. They spend anywhere between $20 to $40 a month, and they get all their business to support this family. Now, of course, they live in Merrill. So take it with a grain of salt, whatever that means, surviving or affording things. But that's all it takes, 20 to 40 bucks per month. Now, I haven't seen any of their posts. I do follow them, but I don't know. It's food. I love food, so it doesn't have to give me a lot to just get excited about food. So, anyways, you'll probably see them at the Business Expo because they have a booth there, and it's just amazing to me. So, one of the things that I will say though, what's kind of the difference here is this really comes down to content, right? So if I think about a paid ad, I think of more like a commercial, right? So Vicki, if I'm at Green Hack, can I create a video kind of montage where is montage the right word? Basically, I'm taking some video of me like walking up the steps at Green Hack, maybe until the gym is closed, and I'm showing a bunch of, hey, this is how awesome the facilities are. Then maybe so I'm always concerned about like videotaping other people because I don't have their consent, right? And I don't want anybody to get upset. I know that's kind of a defensive move. It's just that we live in a pretty litigious society here in the United States, so I'd always be afraid that somebody's like, "Oh, dude, you got a picture of my face," and my ex-husband knows that I go to the Green Hack to gym. To gym is a verb for me. It is now. See, I'm perfect. So and then can you get some video and some music and mix it together, and that becomes now your commercial. Right? There's a lot of people out there. There's professions that are existing right now that are coming up. Voiceover. Like I literally have follow a buddy. He's in Minnesota. He's probably a Vikings fan, but whatever. But he does voiceover. Fantastic. I have people that like produce their own music, and you can just ask them because they need the likes, they need the exposure. So a lot of times they would do it for no cost or very little cost to be able to be in a commercial for you. And so that's what you end up using. Use this. So think about like a commercial like McDonald's. You have this kind of the same flavor, the same feel. And so you maybe have this song like, let me sing this song for you and see if you guys know what it is. 588-2300. Empire. Okay, Jackie, how old is that commercial?
I don't know because I'm old this one here probably.
I heard that back when I was like 8 years old, 7 years old. Right? That was 31 years ago. And I still remember that tune. It's insane. Right? So once you kind of get the jingle, and I wouldn't obsess of how it sounds or what it is, just go with it. And then have that be the normal nuance. One thing that's really weird on my podcast is I started it in the first one, and I said Sherman out. And that's exactly how I've been doing it since June. I had to look it up. June 30th is when I first started a podcast. And now people say it to me. They'll say their name, like Pat out. It's just funny. And I don't know why. It just came out. It's just okay. So paid ad. I would try to create something that's kind of cool. I would do video. So think about it. Like you could post up this. You don't have to boost it every single time. You don't have to pay for the content. But you have this kind of commercial, and you just blast it out there. Maybe it's with your giveaways. Hey, random giveaway. This Friday. Just like the post, and then we'll give someone a free T-shirt, right? And so. And then people they're kind of promoted to just share it, right? Because they're like, hey, Jimmy, just check this out. You can get a free T-shirt. Jimmy loves free T-shirts. He does. So that's kind of where I am going for the paid ad versus a boost, right? Because a boost is more like, hey, I just put out what I think to be a nice post, and so I want to pay a little bit more for it to get seen by other people. I did the same thing for this today, right? So yesterday, 2 days ago, I just paid like I think it was like $5 or $7 for it to get seen by like 1,000 people. So for me, it's for me to understand, okay, how's that reach? So it'll give me some data referring it back. At the same time, you know that it's different, so it'll say sponsored underneath versus it's just a normal feed. It won't say sponsored. And so for me, it's just a way to be able to engage and see, okay, did that make any difference? And if so, what was that difference? And for me, it's just to know like how these tools work. right? So it's hard for me to be able to have analysis on it if I've never like delved in and tried it myself. Eventually, I do want to have like a sponsorship where my whole like wardrobe's like sponsored by somebody. I look forward to that day. That's like the 10-year plan. Or if anybody's listening wants me to do it now, I'll do it. Okay, so the next one is YouTube, production, editing. Okay, so Allison, this one can get really, really complicated, right? So you could literally get a green screen, you could get a white screen, you can make your production so amazing, right? So literally the profession, videographer, is coming out. Like, it didn't exist 5 years ago. But literally there are people out there that will film you, edit the video, put the music into it, make the montage, and post the content. It's amazing, and that position right now gets about 30 to 40,000 bucks. In our community, probably 30 to 35, right? Because the demand just isn't there as heavily from a standpoint of people paying for that content. But I anticipate probably in the next 5 to 10 years that will be a legitimate, like that's the profession that people want to do. And it's, so who is it for? It's for that creative person, the person that loves to take film, the person that loves to take video, that maybe thought themselves would be more of the Hollywood kind of behind the lens kind of attitude, but they realize that they love Wausau, so they would never live in Hollywood. Then couldn't you just create your own cool videos of local businesses or, you know, different events that are happening around town? And yeah, you can. So when it comes to this, you can get super extreme on this one, right? You can buy like serious cameras. I'd say for the average person though, for personal branding's sake, your iPhone, your Android is probably phenomenal, right? Think about the crap. Does anyone remember like the crappy grainy stuff we used to watch on TV, the black and white? That's how I grew up. It was like the punch things, then there was the turn knob, and then there's this fine-tuned knobs. It was crazy. And I watched sport events like that. I don't know how you can sell the ball. Like, it was crazy. Now I can see the blades of grass. It's insane. So with that, I'd say it's more important the content and the frequency at which you're posting than anything else. Because think it's like Netflix. Have any of you binge watched a show on Netflix or Hulu? Sarah, what is it? What's your guilty pleasure?
The Crown.
The Crown. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. So I know some people would consume like 24 in 24 hours, right? Which is kind of cool, but yeah, really amazing that they had 24 hours just to waste. They're basically college kids. They had a lot of time. But that's exactly how people will consume you, right? So I'm amazed that sometimes in my feed, I'll have things that I posted back in like March, and they've gone through the trouble of like, again, I'm posting it 2 to 7 times a day, right? So they'll go through on Instagram, they'll like a photo, they'll like a video that I posted literally like months ago. And so that's exactly how people are consuming our content, is that they want to see who you are, right? If I'm going to hire a coach, what does she really stand for? What's her theme? What's she going at? And do I like her voice? Do I like what she's saying? Because if not, I know there's probably another coach that I can kind of connect with, right? Or if there's a nutrition place or a fitness place, is there somewhere else that I can get my gym on, right? I've just gymified. Yeah, I just verbalized again. Okay, so last one is most out of LinkedIn. Oh, okay. So this I'm super passionate about because I'm a firm believer that resumes are dead, right? Like they're on their last leg. They mean nothing because you can basically make stuff up anyway. And we live in a show me world. We totally do, right? So if you're a videographer or you're a photographer, just show me what you do. I don't need you to tell me that you went to 5 years of undergraduate school and you did photography and you and you go all over the world to film. Just show me what you filmed. Show me what you've posted. Like, it's a show me world right now. And so LinkedIn, luckily, or not luckily, they've now allowed us to put up video, which is going to be a huge game changer for people that are trying to promote themselves from a resume perspective. Plus, I think you need to have, I was going to try to draw a footprint, but I can't do that. So social media gives you the ability to like control your digital footprint, right? And so right now, if you Google your name, or your business name and nothing comes up, that's not good, right? Now, yeah, you might have a very generic name like, Joe Smith. That's unfortunate, Joe Smith. So try to do something creative, Joe Smith, like, the Bucky Killer or something like that. Not killer, that sounds more rapist. A rapper. It's a weird word, sorry. So that's where I'd come from that context is, how can I be a little bit more creative? Is my business? Can it have more of a creative name like PB and Jen? That's a great one, right? And so what I basically am doing is I'm controlling my culture, my content, what people are saying about me. Now I wouldn't, if let's say there's a bad review about me online somewhere and it's legit, I would keep that up there. And I would say, hey, we'll do everything in our power to make sure, we keep you happy and satisfied. Because then it's back to that, Jackie, right? It's the authenticity, so I went to this one restaurant here in town, and they got a bunch of 5 stars, and I know it's not a 5-star restaurant, it's really a 2-star restaurant if lucky. But they did allow there to be a 3-star one there that somebody was like, hey, the food wasn't that good that day, it was really cold. And so I respected that. I didn't go patient there because I remember last time I went there it wasn't that good. So, but I respected their website game. And so websites, let's go to that a little bit. Websites basically a way that you can have a stagnant page. Right? It's your contact information, it's your hours of operation, it's maybe some, the bio about yourself. At the same time, the nice thing about Facebook pages is that it's instantaneous. You can update that thing in a fly, where you might have to call somebody at GoDaddy.com in order to change some of the stuff at your web page, or you can't remember the 5 million different passwords in order to get in. So it can be a little bit more frustrating. And so I think Facebook pages are really kind of taking the place of your website, but your website's a great place to capture data. Right, so oftentimes you go onto somebody's website, right, and the first thing that pops up is enter in your email address. And that's the way that they can keep in contact with you and start building that community. And so that's really where you see websites at. So the final thing that I would say is, right now we're living in the era, if anyone remembers the .com bubble, it's exactly what we're living in when it comes to the social media. I don't know if it's necessarily a bubble, because I think a lot of companies have figured out, okay, how to value these things, and they're not getting too up in arms about spending too much money on social media businesses. But what it is from a bubble perspective is you can't get stuck on one platform, right? So if you're only on Twitter, I'd say get on something else, right? Or if you are on Twitter, start building a database. Who are these people that are following? Who are these people that are connecting with you? Can you get their phone numbers? Can you get their email addresses? Can you do something in a way that you can connect offline, right? So that's why the hashtag is social on social. Like, you're meant to be social on these social media platforms. And what's really cool is that it's totally okay right now to talk to strangers. Mom and Dad's advice about not talking to strangers is no longer valid. You can talk to strangers and have a good time. Any other questions? That's it, guys.
Good job.